Thanks for joining me today, Mike MDs. This is a 2009 Mini Cooper S turbocharged. It's a second generation Mini, and it has a little bit of a problem. It runs rough. This car was towed in, which is always a good idea when it runs rough. Customer says it runs rough. We start it up. You could definitely feel it. Engine's shaking, it's vibrating. It definitely has a misfire, is what it feels like. One of the cylinders is dead, or something's wrong with it. Spark plug, ignition coil. We're gonna figure it out. Yes, it's running pretty rough. You can hear it. It's vibrating. Everything's shaking. We're gonna check the fault code, see what it has, and go from there. All right, after checking the faults, it has engine misfires on pretty much everything, on all four. So we cleared the fault codes, ran the engine, went up the alley, and the one that came back is cylinder number 3. So sometimes you get multiple because you have companion cylinders, one will affect the other. So you have something like that. Sometimes it's easier to clear it out, see what comes back, and focus on that. That was cylinder number 3. We're gonna pull the plug, ignition coil. We're gonna swap it actually and see what happens. All right, after swapping ignition coils from one to the other and also spark plugs, the misfire is still present on cylinder number 3. That means there's something else going on. Pulling the plug gives us a really good clue. Hard to see on the video, but it is wet. It is wet with oil and fuel. It's probably wet with fuel because it's fouled with oil and it cannot burn the fuel air mixture. So that's probably why it smells like fuel. The main thing is, why is there oil on it? It's fresh oil. We're gonna check it out. We're gonna use a bore scope, put it in there, see what we find. All right, we have the bore scope out. It's basically a camera for those of you that aren't familiar with it. And we can see down in here and see if we see any clues. So on the video, it's a little hard to tell. It's a little wet on top. It's got some oil buildup on there. It's not too bad right now. Let's put the camera on the side. Okay, there's quite a bit of oil in here. Wow, look at the pattern on the cylinder wall. Somebody rebuilt this engine and used a hone to recondition the cylinder walls, but they did it incorrectly. There's no cross pattern. There's no crosshatch pattern. It's just a vertical pattern, which is very hard on the piston rings. But you know what we see here? There's some really deep scoring on the cylinder walls from the piston touching in the rings. It's likely a ring is cracked, or the bottom of the skirt of the piston is been compromised or broken off, which is common sometimes on these engines. On this model, look at that. There's more on the other side. So they either, wow, look at that. That's really deep. That's really deep. Those are deep gouges. That's not repairable. That means that's where the oil is coming from. So either it has broken piston rings, or they overheated this to the point to where the piston was rubbing very hard on the piston walls. And because this engine looks like it's already been rebuilt poorly, or remachined poorly, we're going to recommend a whole new engine. We're not going to try to fix this because it would be, there's no way we could warranty something like this. Plus this has high mileage. So we're going to recommend a new engine for this customer, and we'll see where they go with it. All right, after performing a leak down test just to verify, sure enough, it's got a huge percentage of leakage into the crankcase. That just verifies that either the piston is cracked, or the cylinder wall is elongated, or the piston rings are cracked. All the everything's escaping past the piston. We're not gonna repair it. We're gonna recommend a new engine for this customer. They declined it after calling them, so they're gonna tow this out, and I think get a tax write-off for the car of one of those companies at this point, mainly because it has high mileage. It's not worth really putting money into. Everybody, thank you for joining me today. I'll see you on the next video. Happy motoring to you.